Welcome to Marketing with Confidence. I'm your host, Marianne Amies. We're going to be talking all things digital and online marketing for business owners and marketing professionals. If you've been feeling overwhelmed by your digital marketing, be sure to listen along and you'll hear tips, interviews and more that will give you the confidence to create marketing you love. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing with Confidence. Today, I'm going to talk to you about slashing your marketing budget and thriving. And interestingly enough, it was about 12 months ago when I recorded a podcast on a similar topic. And in that episode, I really talked about, is it the time to slash your budget, where you could trim your digital spend without impacting your position, and how to really maximize your engaged customer database. So it's still really worth a listen, and a lot of, I get great tips in there as well. But today I want to talk to you, I guess, firstly around, the marketing budget and what that may or may not be for your business. Interestingly enough, I started my first full-time marketing job after working in accounting firms and some sponsorship roles. My first full-time marketing role was in a very small car company, and this car company was called Proton. It was a Malaysian car company, and it was at the time, an industry disruptor. It launched alongside Kia and Hyundai, and I guess all three brands had these reputations of being a little bit less than in the market. Back then, this is going back over 20 years ago, there was a really loyal following for your Fords and your Holdens and, especially cars out of Australia or otherwise Europe and Japan and not so much for other countries. So I was working on a challenger brand and we had a small budget. And one of my fondest memories of that time is the creativity that comes with a small budget. Obviously, the marketing landscape has moved dramatically since then. And, this was a time before digital where if you didn't have a TV advertising budget, if you couldn't afford to, be the front page of a magazine or take a full page ad in a newspaper, it was really hard to get noticed and get traction. And so we did a lot of marketing in that business that was designed to cut through in a low cost way, a lot of community engagement marketing, a lot of radio. So looking at the not obvious, looking at where we could get more out of our marketing budget. And, I've spoken before, but I went on to work in really big business, and I went on to work in the beauty industry and the apparel industry after in marketing roles where I had $1 million budgets. And I think when I reflect back, although I loved my time in those industries, they certainly weren't the most creative times, and they weren't the times when I was thinking out of the square on how to deliver the best results strategically, creatively. It was really almost a copy paste of, 3 million on TV, 2 million on magazines, and off we go. So I wanted to, start out by saying, it's not always the biggest budget that wins. And when you have a small budget, I think there's an opportunity to focus on your creativity and focus on your strengths and look at how you can leverage that small budget to get results. It's, important as always to go back to strategy and really get clear on who you're marketing to, what they need right now, what your product mix is, and if there's any opportunity within that product mix, whether it's the assortment, the product depth, or the product width, to have, different entry cost offers than you've had before, or to diversify a little bit. To make sure that your current product offering can best serve your ideal client where they're at right now, that it's not about having a bigger budget necessarily. It's about how you're going to use that budget to your advantage. And I think that's where the creativity piece really comes in. So if we think about smart marketing, it's about focusing your efforts on the right channels and the tactics that are going to resonate with your target audience and achieve your marketing goals. Not about, doubling down on your Google ads because, you're going to then be able to take a larger influx of traffic that were searching for your product or your service. So rather than, how can I spend more to attract more people, I think it's really about what are the right channels and tactics that are going to talk to my ideal client and really help them to convert now or to go on a pathway to conversion. Understanding that conversion pathway may be a little bit longer right now. The impulse purchasing may have moved away, but we see that people are making considered purchases for the things that they really want. So how to get on that shopping list in that considered purchase. And obviously, if you're more B2B, how to have conversations about the value your service brings, again, so that people can see where they can invest and what that relationship will bring them over time. So, we're going to be exploring where, I guess, you can trim your budget, where you can focus your budget so that you can thrive in these times right now. And, I guess I should also say the temptation is to cut the marketing budget. I'm sure if you've gone to see your accountant and they're looking at your books and there's been a decrease in revenue and then they look at your operational expenses, and marketing's a bucket that we often hear is, cut it. But I think the research shows it's the businesses that can maintain a small presence during harder times that will come out on top when the consumer, habits go back to normal, or when the new version of consumer spending comes back to normal. So if we disappear, if we cut our budgets altogether, we're not going to be able to generate that inquiry, those sales in the future. And certainly if our competitors have been more consistent with their low-cost marketing efforts, they certainly will be the ones that remain top of mind. So I wanted to give you some practical insights, I guess, on, what are the free and low-cost marketing opportunities for you? So obviously social media marketing, if you've listened to any episode, you'll know social media marketing is an area of expertise for me. And I think there's always opportunity to leverage organic platforms. I guess in terms of your budget, if you are fully outsourcing this right now, there is an opportunity to maybe talk to your agency or your freelancer and look at what options there are. Is there an option where you can do more of the grunt work of, scheduling in or writing the captions, and are they best attuned to holding the strategy, developing the plan, creating the content, think investing in things like content shoots where you're getting photos of, your team or yourself enacting the service, or you're getting product in use or collaborative product posts. That content is going to be so high value in your social media to really elevate you. So that's probably worth investing in, where maybe some of the grunt work you're able to DIY for a small period of time to try recoup some of your marketing spend. I think also if you've been boosting posts and things like that, that can sometimes be a little bit of a money trap. So looking at any kind of ad hoc spend you're doing around social media marketing, again, if you're sending out to collaborators, looking at the total cost of product you're sending out and then making sure that aligns with the content you're coming back with, and that, their posting is generating new followers, new inquiries, new sales. Otherwise, that sort of budget of influencers and collaborators could be something that you want to consider trimming down or capping during this time. Obviously, again, your SEO and your content marketing, we know that SEO is a marathon. So the more content that we put up over time, on our websites is going to benefit us. But that's not to say when things are tough that you can't reduce the output. Or again, if somebody's doing that for you, is there some of that you can take in-house for a small period of time? I think being more strategic in the content that you're publishing, the volume of it can also help. Email marketing. Email marketing is a fantastic low cost to no cost marketing strategy. And if you're looking to reduce your marketing spend, so you may want to be pulling back on your Google AdWords or your Facebook ads budget, or paid collaborations, email marketing is an amazing place to come back to. So I definitely have some episodes on how to grow and maintain an email marketing list and the sorts of emails that I believe work really well. But I think in this time when you're really trying to, reduce your marketing budget, using your emails for low cost engagement with your database, really using segmentation. So sending hyper personalized emails. An example of that is I work with a sunglass company, and the other day we were planning out their next 6 months of marketing activity. And I was suggesting sort of a VIP email only campaign. And then we said, why don't we do this hyper targeted? Why don't we say, create versions of this email? So just a tortoiseshell version, just an oversized frames version. And then based on people's purchase behavior, let's send them a curated email. So, personalize with their first name. Hey, Tegan, we know you can't get enough of tortoiseshell. We've pulled together our favorite tortoiseshell frames just for you. So if I receive that email, I immediately feel seen and valued by this brand that I've been engaging with. I'm getting through the clutter. I'm not having to kind of open up and see if there's something in there for me, or scroll through 20, frames trying to pick out the thing that I like. So again, it's hyper personalized, and it's going to build that value and that relationship between you and your target market as well. Obviously, public relations and networking can sometimes cost us nothing. I think that networking is a great opportunity. So, analyzing what networking events may exist out there, and whether they are paid or free, assessing if there's a value in going to a paid event that maybe has a great speaker, or is going to curate a network of really like-minded people in a non-salesy environment. Or, if there's a free local business networking, and that's going to help you really form connections with local business owners that you can then collaborate with. I think that that's a fantastic opportunity and a great use of your time as well. And public relations, obviously, public relations can be a little bit difficult and a little bit, I'm going to, not overwhelming is not the right word, probably mysterious. I think for a lot of us, we sort of don't know where to start with PR. There's a lot of pitching that needs to take place, but I think, the perfect place to begin with is always your local newspaper. Is there anything newsworthy that you can pitch them on? Is there any way you can talk, tell them a story about how you've benefited somebody? And I think that's one of the greatest PR tips I ever heard was, when you're going to pitch, don't think about what you can do or what you've done. Think about what you did for your customer. So rather than saying, we've just launched this great flower subscription service, the story could be about how your customer, Bruce, subscribed to flowers for his wife of 50 years, and that's how he reinvigorated their marriage. So it's not about the me. It's actually about what is the newsworthy story of how you helped a customer, or what did your product or service deliver for somebody else. So PR can be, again, it takes time, and I think doing maybe a course, doing a little bit of study with a small business that, or listening to some great podcasts on PR. It's not an area that I'm an expert in, but listening to some podcasts, doing some study, sort of arming yourself with some of the techniques and trying it out, I think is a great way to, at a low cost, be able to build awareness as well. Again, not necessarily in your budget, depending if you have a web development retainer, but, looking at what you can do to get your website up to date. I think that, maintaining a website that can accurately convey what your brand does, that builds trust and credibility, investing in that always, to make sure that, on any given day that someone Googles you, if you should come up, that what the customer or the ideal audience sees is the best version of your business. And I think, cutting your marketing budget may mean not getting a new website, but it might mean, what upgrades can you do to your current website to make sure that it's looking great. I think back to COVID, and websites were the busiest department in my business because everybody all of a sudden realized, the only way to communicate was online, and everybody wanted these websites that reflected their business. And I think it's important to think like that all the time. Certainly we aren't locked down at home anymore, but people's decision making around websites, people's the data that they gather about your business based on your website is huge. So, looking at how you can maybe have a landing page, or how you can make some small updates rather than say that whole website you were planning on building. The other thing is, pulling back on your advertising campaign, but really doing that strategically. So, always on ads for awareness, or always on ads for sales. The budget of that, it can get through a lot of your budget depending on your business type and your niche. So when we're looking to cut our budget and still thrive, we don't want to turn off our ads altogether. I think that can be, especially if your business is built around paid ads investment, turning that off altogether is cutting off your nose to spite your face. The money that you're going to save is certainly going to result in lower leads and lower inflow of work down the line. And we have to be really careful with that, especially in this climate, because, when there is recovery, we want to make sure that our business is top of mind. So reducing to, a small budget for awareness. And if you run sales campaigns, really reducing down to the most effective of those sales campaigns, working with someone strategically, especially if you're self-managing your ads, although it can seem counterintuitive, actually investing in some expert advice or in some training just to make sure that the changes you're making to your ad structure and to your ad spend are the right tweaks to make, and looking at your data are going to give you the best future results, not just the immediacy of reduced spend today. And then I think, when you're cutting your marketing budget, it's such a classic accounting thing to talk about, but it's going into your subscriptions and having a look. Certainly if you're DIYing your marketing, or if you are working with an agency, you will find along the way, you subscribe to different things. So you might subscribe to the Adobe Suite, or you might subscribe to Dropbox. You might subscribe to Canva Pro or a scheduling tool. But I imagine most of us in there somewhere are subscribing to things that we're simply not using anymore, or are subscribing to things that there might be cheaper alternatives for now. Dropbox may now be at a certain price that if you actually switch to Google Drive, it may be cheaper. And, I think email marketing platforms can be like that. There is a lot of time involved in switching, but I think it's good to have a look around and look, if you're with MailChimp and you're paying $1,000 a month, would you get it cheaper through Active Campaign, and for how long? What sort of growth do you need to get to before then, you're at X price? So don't just look at it in today's list size. Actually look at the next plan up and how does that stack up to where you are, and the next plan up where you are. So a real like for like comparison. But, I think those marketing related subscriptions and fees, it's really important to go back through when you're looking to trim your budget and see what you don't need anymore. Or certainly, if there's things you can pay for 12 months and receive an annual discount for, you may be able to save a little bit of money that way. And lastly, I just want to talk about, when it comes to cutting your marketing budget, obviously, if you're outsourcing that kind of expert or that managed service is going to be a big part of your spend. And I think it's really important to look at that. And as I touched on before, looking at what is the grunt work and what is specialist skills. Specialist skills are going to be hard for you to learn and master, especially probably when you're at a time are, looking to cut expenses, that you're focusing on your operational effectiveness and efficiency. It's not probably the time that you want to learn to be a Facebook ads expert. But looking at, within different activities, what are the specialist skills that you need to outsource? And, what is the grunt work, or what is some of the DIY-able elements you can take over yourself? Again, maybe blog writing is something you can take over, and then you can have, an expert SEO optimize it for you rather than them doing the whole piece of work. Obviously, things like Google ads and Facebook ads, I think, sit very well with a specialist. When it comes to social media management, you might find a package where you're getting content created for you and reels or TikToks developed and edited at that high level that you need, but you're actually managing the day-to-day posting and sort of the rolling out of that content. So I think it's, really breaking down the different areas of marketing. And, certainly if your business is still using traditional areas of marketing, if you are still advertising in the newspaper or advertising on radio because you always have, or, I certainly work with a lot of businesses that still have, paid yellow pages accounts and paid white pages accounts, really traditional businesses, especially in regional areas. And, I often say to them, what could you do with that fee? If you're paying them $1,000 to appear in yellow pages, like what could you be doing if you directly invested that $1,000 somewhere else? So I think looking at any sort of advertising costs that you have in that traditional marketing, and then trying to understand, is there a digital alternative you could control and be able to pace your budget more rather than a one-off fee at a particular time of the year where you can sort of turn it on and off to suit yourself as well. So I guess, the key takeaways that I want you to think about today is to really go back to basics as always and look at your target market, have a think about how they're changing, and are your products and services evolving to serve them best? And then when it comes to your budget, where are you spending money on things like subscriptions and services or agency fees that you can trim down? What can you take on yourself? What do you not need anymore? And then really looking at having, a relationship with specialists so that the most critical areas that are going to keep your business top of mind are maintained, and you're nurturing those relationships with current and potential customers and clients so that you're in the mix. And you've got that future opportunity when the consumer is ready to convert, that you are still on their mind and you haven't disappeared, and you certainly haven't been eclipsed by a competitor with a bigger budget. I hope you've found this helpful. I'd love to continue the conversation on Instagram as well. Please reach out if you have any questions, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Hey, thanks for listening to another episode. If you don't want to miss one, make sure you subscribe to the show in your podcast app. And if you love it, be sure to share it with friends and colleagues who you think could benefit from increasing their digital marketing confidence. Want more? Head to marianneamies.com to find out how you can work with me directly, to reach out to have me speak at your event, or to grab yourself some free resources.